one of the things that has come up this year is fear went through the roof. Like in March and April, the fear levels went through the roof on the planet. And they haven't really come down. They've come down some, but they're still there. And what I've noticed is even within the spiritual community, which again is not one community. I think that's where we all get a bit unstuck. You know, people go, well, they're spiritual. Why don't they believe this? Well, because they're also a human being. And there are a million things to believe. And we're all so unique. And there are so many facets of the spiritual world that very few people are going to embody all of those facets. But I've seen a lot of infighting, and I've seen a lot of people getting angry at other people or at other, you know, I've seen it teachers, like some people are angry at one spiritual teacher who's talking a lot about vaccines, and then another person is angry at a spiritual teacher who isn't talking about vaccines. And the thing that I've noticed that is kind of unconsciously there is underneath all of those judgments is the energy of war, the energy of right and wrong. She's right, he's wrong. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that in a multidimensional universe. In a multidimensional universe, there are all of these different things. And what we have to do is navigate our way to our resonance. And the more time we spend, or again, nothing wrong with either of those things. I've done both. I've done both. And this year I've done both. I've kind of wanted to go, oh, I don't know about that, or oh, keep that away from me. And whenever I have those reactions, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Ah, it's in my body. It's in my template. So I just spend some time with it and I meditate on what I'm in reaction to. And it teaches me something. And in the teaching, I learn to let go. So if you're angry that something isn't going the way it should, and you're blaming that on another person, I would bring it back to life. I would bring it back to, oh, 2020 didn't go the way I thought it should. 2020 as a year has rocked my world in a certain way, and now I'm pinning it on this person, that person. And the other thing that I would be very cautious of if I were you, and the Z's have told me this for years, but I feel like I've understood it more than ever this year. They've always said, be careful with what we dub conspiracy theories. We don't dub them conspiracy theories. And I personally think that, you know, often calling something a conspiracy theory is a way to kind of rubbish it, or to make a person who aligns with it think there's something wrong with them. I think it's, you know, that's my thought, my perception. I'm personally a big believer in look into all these things. Like I've looked into a whole load of this stuff for many, many years, for about 12 years. And one of the things the Z's have said, be very wary of absolute truth, because there is none. They said there might be truth in every conspiracy theory that you're looking at, just as there might be truth in every person who talks about anything. You know, there might be truth for you in a certain percentage of what I'm saying, and there might be a certain percentage of what I'm saying where you're like, no, I don't resonate with that. That's not for me. I'll just leave that there. But I'll stay watching him because some of the stuff he says is for me, and it does work for me. One of the things that I believe will do us all a real disservice around some of these conspiracy ideas is if we start getting so afraid of these possibilities that they are all we can see. So I'll give you a personal example. I remember when I watched the movie Zeitgeist in 2008, a very dark kind of version of events. It was very triggering for me, and it probably took me a year to recover from it. And then a few years later, Thrive came out, which was a slightly more hopeful version of some of the same information. I was really grateful to kind of be exposed to some of that stuff, but I also recognized there was an energetic and emotional imprint in it, especially Zeitgeist, that was very dark. And what I noticed was it took time for me to be able to purge out the emotion I had swallowed while watching it. Not my own emotion, not my own reactions to it. That's separate. Some of the emotion I had taken in, because there was a kind of predictiveness that this was showing us. It was going, this is how it's going to go. And something about that felt very off to me at the time. And the Z's have said that anybody who wants an agenda to go through will surround it with emotion, because facts do not sway public opinion, emotion does. Facts do not sway public opinion, emotion does. We're emotionally resonant creatures. So if I tell you a story that's full of fear and I'm like, oh my God, this is awful, this is what's going to happen, what then happens is what you're left with is not the details I just gave you, but you're like, oh, is it? Oh, and you swallow it, and then you become like this, and then you're left with this emotion. So you no longer even remember why you're scared, but you know it was something to do with that thing, and now the fear is in you. And the problem with you embodying that fear around anything that you see in the world that you don't like is you've lost your own center. We have lost our own center in that moment. Nothing wrong with it. It's quite normal to have that reaction, but you have to catch you've had that reaction. And then you have to let it go. You have to go, oh, I need to let this emotion move through me before I run out there and start telling everybody what I'm feeling about this thing, because if they don't resonate with my levels of fear, they're just going to dismiss me. So what I'm talking about here is not necessarily putting your head in the sand or not looking at things you want to look at, but pay very close attention to whether or not you're being emotionally hijacked by this theory, this story, this person's fear. I have loved watching more people this year, and I'm sure you've had the same experience. I've loved watching more people than ever before question stuff, not just accepting what is being said or what is being done. And they're like, well, hang on a second. Why is this happening? I think that has been crucial this year. But I've also seen a lot of people kind of go off the rails. And going off the rails is, if it's just part of your process, it's quite normal, it's human, it's okay, but you've got to come back. So ask yourself, are the things I am believing or perceiving about the now or the future helping me be fully present here, or are they spinning me out? Are they freaking me out? Am I believing that they're real when actually I don't know whether they're real or whether they're going to come true? By all means, keep an eye on it. Like, keep an eye on it. Go, I'm going to watch how things play out. But if we lose ownership of our own senses and our own emotions, we lose a lot. And that's how we as a group or as an individual can be taken out of our own sovereignty and out of our own center. Now, what I'm saying here is not, oh, you're wrong if you have an emotional reaction, because anyone had an emotional reaction this year? It's kind of normal. What I'm talking about specifically is if there is an individual or a group in the world right now that you are following, feeding into, studying, and it is doing nothing but leaving you in a state of fear, darkness, panic about the future, what I'm telling you is there is something off in that message. There is an energetic that is off in that message. Some of their facts might be good, might be worth noting down, going, oh yeah, I'm going to pay attention to that. But if you are merging with their emotional imprint, and their emotional imprint is leaving you feeling off, only you can bring yourself back from that. And we need you. We need you in as much sovereignty as you can be in. And that does not mean you have to be perfect, does not mean, you don't have to be immune to reactions. It just means that you're keeping your awareness on track. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I have a lot of respect and gratitude to what I would call freedom fighters on this planet in areas that are needed. Like, I love some of the doctors who are speaking right now, and I love many of the things that I'm seeing. But I also notice there is a thread of energy that is a little off, that's running through certain people's focus, certain people's delivery. And why I'm being called to speak to you about that is, over recent months, the Z's have talked about, you know, the psychic highways and the spiritual highways are a really important place to infiltrate and kind of hijack. Like, you know, if you can get people who are good visionaries and manifestors to help manifest a dark reality, because it's all you focus them on, and you tell them that's what's going to happen, and then they just tell all their other friends, and there's no actual active solution or active way of changing that, then you start to be used. So I say all of this only for those of you who, you know, some of you might be going, Lee, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't pay any attention to this stuff, and that's fine. But I know many of you have, and I have been privy to many conversations with people, some in here and some people I know over the last few months who are like, well, why are the spiritual community disagreeing so much? And why are they so, and I'm like, because we're human, and you know, we have division energy in us as a humanity that is more at the surface than we've ever seen, but it's always been there. And it was implanted in many ways over the centuries. It's not something that we should feel ashamed about. It's what we were born into. So there's nothing wrong with our flaws, our frailties. They're who we are. But what we're also learning to become is more elevated consciousness. And it's an edgy, uncomfortable transformation. And if you are sensitive to energy, if you are someone who identifies as a healer, whether you do it as a public job or whether that's just the role that you hold, because you're very mindful of, oh, I'm gonna spend some time with my friend. I can tell she's down. She probably wouldn't talk to me about it. I'm just gonna spend half an hour with her. You know, that's you as a healer, as an empathic being. You're just going to have to be mindful around cleansing and shaking off the emotions that you get knotted up in, because it's very intense out there. And some of the shadow energies that we are transmuting, we are meant to transmute. They're supposed to come up and out and through us, but I'm seeing a lot of people get stuck. I'm seeing a lot of people get stuck and then start talking about their stuck place or feeling as if it's fact and as if it's the future. And that's dangerous, because the future is not yet decided. The future is, as the Z's say, there is an energy that's in place, but the form can keep changing. And one of the things they've said about COVID, interestingly, is they've said, as much as many people see negative things around COVID, COVID has actually been a very important pause point. And it has actually slowed down the energy on the planet enough for more people to wake up and to see. So some people will say, oh, COVID's blocking our lives and it's been inflicted on us that we all have to stop. And while I can totally understand where they're coming from and see their point, I also have to do the zoom out big picture and go, okay, well, COVID has come along and has really shaken up the game and has shaken a lot of people awake to the unconscious patterns that we've all been living in. People have never really considered the system of the world, what the planet needs. It's all come up to the surface in a very different way. So it's been a whopper of a year. And you're quite entitled to want to just, oh my God, I just want to have a quiet few weeks. I just want to, you know, it's to be understood. Your heightened emotions are not an accident. They're not a mistake. But this transmuting of the shadow, it has to transmute. And I'm seeing a lot of people get stuck just underneath their heart and then kind of out there spouting how they feel as if it's the fact about the future. And the future is far from set, which is why we need to be here and be creating it consciously and taking what we experience and putting that into the world, however that looks for you. And again, I want to just clarify this, because I think we forget, you raising your child for the next 15 years is more than enough. Welcome to the portal. The portal is my monthly members community, and we have been going for almost 8 years. Some have called it a sanctuary for sensitives. It's a place where I get to offer you tools to help you thrive, survive, and expand your life. So every month I get to bring in-depth teaching, specially curated content, and we do all of this in a private community. Over the years, my energy updates have become popular, but the thing about reading for everybody and the amount of people who tune into those now is we don't always necessarily get to specify. Every month, I do a 90-minute live broadcast, which is archived and available for replays for many months afterwards, where not only do I do an in-depth energy read for the portal member community, I also take live questions. So we have some pre-submitted questions, but we have a lot of live on-air questions. I stopped doing personal sessions a couple of years ago, so this is a great way to get your question answered, but also through this curated questioning, we get to uplift as a community, because the thoughts, the concerns, the hopes that are on the community's mind get looked at, and the energy tune-up becomes a healing call as a result. Secondly, you will receive that month's latest MP3. Every single month, we create a brand new MP3 that is usually a channel from my guides, the Z's, with sound healing, and often with an original song at the end, which I create in collaboration with Slovenian sound healer and composer Davor Bozik. These MP3s are designed to support you with what's going on in current energies and essentially to be an hour of audio medicine that you can listen to that month and forever in the future. Many people revisit these MP3s time and time again. We also have a classics library, 8 of my past titles that are favorites, that rotate every 5 months so that you get to go deeper with some recordings you may have otherwise missed or not been able to find in the past. Stephen Washington, my husband, delivers Qigong videos and teaching every single month that's exclusive to those of you in the portal. He creates a Qigong sequence that he bases on the themes of that month's energy update. Usually this is around 30 minutes long, and it remains in the portal as an archive for a full year after its first broadcast. So you immediately have access to 12 Qigong sequences on video from Stephen. Stephen also creates a short meditation every single month. These are around 7-8 minutes long because I wanted them to be short enough for you to use very easily, and he has created these with Davor Bozik. As a welcome bonus gift, when you join the portal, you will find Intuitive Power, the full video recording of our one-day event in London that kicked off our Intuitive Power tour. It's approximately 5 hours. It features myself and Stephen. If you've never been able to get to a live event, it's a great way to experience the live energy in the room and also learn some things about intuition, your body, and wellness along the way. And finally, my favorite thing is our Facebook community. Our Facebook community is a private group, so it allows people to have discussions, engage with each other, and support each other in the privacy of a contained group. So along with special discounts for portal members, we managed to bring all of this to you at an incredibly affordable fee every month. So if you want to try the portal, see if it resonates with you for a month, we would love to have you join us, try it out, and we hope you stay, because we love serving our members and we love curating and creating the portal every single month.